He was crouched over the weapon. Dune saw his back bent and his arm jerking at the machine. Nothing happened. His arm jerked again harder, and at the same time Mary rushed forward. She aimed a powerful kick at the nose of the weapon, bumping it upward, and the weapon, in a harsh machine voice, began to chutter. It went, turning its snout back and forth. People in the crowd began to scream. Dune couldn't see at first what the weapon was doing. What was the point of a loud, furious, shuddering noise? The noise was horrible, but the weapon was staying in one place, not flying out into the crowd. Was it shooting something out of its... Yes! Across the plaza, over the heads of the people, Dune saw a line of holes punching into a wall, splintering a window. But the weapon suddenly stopped its clattering. Dune looked down and saw Ben give it a furious shake, and shake it again, pounding on its nose to aim it lower as the crowd yelled in panic and scrambled backward. And Mary shouted and tried to rush toward Ben, but Wilmer grabbed her arm, and then the weapon exploded. No chattering this time, just a spurt of fire that shot from the weapon's rear end, knocking Ben flat on his back, and toppled the weapon forward so that it stood on its nose. This made the fire shoot straight upward, a column of bright orange scattering sparks and reaching toward the branch of the pine tree that hung over the town hall steps. From his place in the tower, Dune watched, horrified. Where was his father in this frenzied crowd? Where was Lena? Below him, the pine tree was on fire. The building would be on fire too in a minute, because the tree stood right up next to it. Smoke was already curling through the windows. He had to get out. And that was when he heard a scream. Not from the plaza below, but from somewhere above him. A bird? An animal in the pine tree? A second later, echoing scream arose from the crowd. Dune heard someone cry, "The tree! Up in the tree! Someone's in there!" Dune was at the door ready to flee down the stairs, but he heard the scream again, and it sounded close. He darted back into the tower room and ran to the window that faced the tree. The lower branches of the pine tree were a mass of flame. He could hear the rush and roar as the fire raced among the dry needles. When he turned his gaze upward, he saw what the screaming was. A boy was clinging to a branch a little higher than the tower roof, hugging the trunk of the tree and screaming in terror as the fire swept upward. Kenny, Dune thought. Was it? He couldn't tell for sure, but he knew he couldn't leave him there. Maybe somehow he would get him through the window. He opened it as far as he could. It was the kind of window that swung outward on hinges, and then he grabbed one of the chairs from around the table. Holding by its back, he thrust it out the window as far as he could. "Climb down!" he shouted to the boy in the tree. "Climb down, quick!" The boy saw him, and with a start, Dune realized who he was. It wasn't Kenny at all. It was Torin, the one who had started so much trouble, the one who had pointed a lying finger at Dune. For one furious second, Dune felt the urge to leave Torin to his fate and get himself out of the tower as fast as he could. But he pushed that thought away and shouted louder, "Hurry, get down here!" Torin clambered down through the branches, down toward the flames beneath him. When he was opposite the tower window, he was still too far away to reach the legs of the chair. He edged out along a branch, but it was a slender branch, and it bent under his weight. "Jump!" Dune yelled. "Jump and catch the chair leg! I'll pull you in!" Torin crawled backward to where the branch was sturdier. He stood up. Then he froze. He stood clutching the tree trunk, staring down at the flames, his mouth a dark O. "Jump!" screamed Dune again. Smoke was pouring into the tower room. "Hurry! You can do it!" A gust of wind. The flames leapt. Now the branches just below Torin's feet were blazing, and he suddenly had to make up his mind. Dune could see the moment of decision in his face. He clamped his lips tight. He fastened his gaze to the chair dangling out of the window, and then he pushed himself away from the trunk with his hands and flung himself toward the tower. His hands caught the rung between the chair legs, and Dune's whole body was yanked forward. He almost lost his grip on the chair, but not quite. "Hang on!" he yelled. With all of his strength, he hauled the chair upward, and when Torin's hands were within reach, he grabbed one of them and then both of them, letting the chair topple back into the room. One last heave, and Torin was in the tower room, shaking so violently he could hardly stand. "Now," said Dune, "you can let go." He headed for the door. Over the sill of the window Torin had just come through crept a row of flames like sharp orange claws. The next chapter that I'll read tomorrow is called Firefight. Whew, some big stuff is happening. Our book is almost over. This was a little longer video than usual, so good job hanging in there. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.